Get started. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me, rise, and sing Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business, are there any public comments on the agenda items?
Good afternoon.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Laith. Welcome. Sue Weber, 5338 Norris Drive. I had a question about this on the agenda. Obviously, you're seeking an appraisal of a parcel that St. Jude owns. Is it a parcel swap or a parcel purchase?
I know that Mr. Waldinger has had some direct information and contact with them. I'm going to let him speak to that, to give you just a quick summary, because I'm sure he's including that later in his report.
Yes, I will. Sorry, I will speak to that later, but we are exploring options at this moment. We've had several conversations with Father Ross and some parishioners at St. Jude about options for their property. A swap is one of those options, and so that's why we need further information in order to explore what potential there might be for working out something with the church.
I guess another question I have is, when you get appraisals, are you going to ignore them and pay more than they say that the property is worth? Because that's what happened last time. Every appraisal that you got, you paid far more with public money than the appraisals came out at. And I just want to say, I hope you're not going to do that again. You have a lot of people in Millcreek that are just furious about that. It's not proper use of public money. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next business item up.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My name's Tom Smith. I live at 5936 Southland Drive. A couple questions, and Sue just went over one. As far as the appraisal's concerned, I would have a similar comment. I am a real estate appraiser, and just to correct her, you guys only paid the price for the Manor Motel. That was what the appraised value was. So I would hope this time that you pay attention to what the appraisal value is, or what's arrived at that, and not just pay, because
That is a work order under their existing contract with us.
for an extension,
No, for additional services as described in their base contract.
and what are those services?
I will be getting that agenda item, but they are
Well, if
for
I could-
developer engagement, preparing marketing materials, working with developers, and giving us criteria in order to evaluate development proposals.
Okay, well, I have a problem with Altair being assigned to this, because number one, they're truly not a developer, he's a property manager. And for the record, I worked with Chuck before in the past, so as an employee, 10 years ago, so I want to make that clear. I don't know why we don't, and you guys don't have like a Caldwell Banker with Bill Bucherri, Baldwin Brothers with Jack Muntz, or the Baldwins, Passport Realty with Greg Rubino and Daryl Torella come in and provide or give their speech or pitch on helping you to develop, because Chuck Peters, as far as, or Altair, he's done nothing nothing's listed in the MLS, nothing's been on LoopNet, there's no signage, there's no nothing. How does anyone know what is being for sale or the asking price and stuff if nobody knows in the country what's going on. I mean, LoopNet's the #1 real estate website in the world. I mean, none of that stuff is even listed in our local MLS, that if someone was to contact a Bill Bucieri or whatever, what's his, what are they supposed to do? Call you guys? I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like he's doing the job that should be done for representing Millcreek Township, and trying to get these properties sold. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And then I guess I'll have the other comments. Yeah, I guess that would be it with Altair. I mean, and back when everything was getting, negotiated and everything, his interest was on his own, where he was telling a group that represented the Bel Air that they didn't, the government entities here, they need to be sensitive to the price paid and how it can be justified. Having an appraisal, even from the seller, can help provide the additional justification to pay a higher price. He's not representing what's best for Millcreek Township at the time. He's representing what was best for him. So I just think that there's better options out there to hire somebody to do, as good or better job, I'd say a better job than what Chuck Peters has done in Altair Management. So I guess that's all I have to say about that, and then I'll have other comments later.
We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, this is Dave Zimmer. I'd like to make a couple comments if I could.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to let Ms. Weber and Mr. Smith know that we listen to what they say. We take everything under advisement. It's a public forum to say whatever you want. But this is not a meeting where we negotiate real estate transactions or real estate prices. Our relationship with Altair has been, we are very pleased with the advice and the guidance they've given us. We understand that both of you have disdain for the organization and possibly for Chuck. We'll listen to your comments, but it is not a forum where we're going to berate each other and frankly, speak misinformation. So we will listen. We'll take it under advisement. It is not a negotiating session, and we will not be running by, the two of you, whether we're going to do anything in terms of real estate. So I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you very much.
Okay, David, well, I'm going to answer to that. Number one, there's no misinformation here. It's not listed on LoopNet, and it's not in the MLS. So what?
I'm not going to comment on everything. I'm not going to comment on everything you said, Tom. Not everything was misinformation, but you weren't involved, and you were also talking about the negotiation of properties. You were not involved. You don't know exactly what occurred or what happened. We're not going to discuss it. Again, we'll take what you stand under advisement, but some of the items that you spoke about, you don't have knowledge of. And if you read our plan, we're not in a situation where we're just selling everything right now. We have a plan. I'd encourage you to read through it. And again, we'll listen, but we're going to go on with what we think is best.
Okay, but that comment I wrote was a comment that was emailed from Chuck, so that's not something I made up either. So on October, nothing I said is made up or lied. So don't tell me that that was the case that I'm making stuff up when it's not. It was emailed on October 14th of 2022. So I'm just trying to get what's best, because I'm a Millcreek resident, to get this project moving forward and get it sold, get it listed, so we can move forward. It's been over a year now that these properties you guys have purchased. That's all I'm trying to do, is do what's best for Millcreek Township. Whether it's Chuck or not, if it's Chuck, you guys like him, let's get it in LoopNet and MLS and do that. He has the access to do it and capability. That's all I'm saying, is let's give it moving forward.
And we'll certainly take that under advisement.
Okay, that's
And appreciate
all
your
I want.
comments. Any other comments before we proceed on? Okay. Approval of minutes from February 13th regular meeting. I think the board had received those. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Mr. Ward?
Aye.
Dave? Mr. Zimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of bills. Any questions or comments on bills? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $87.15.42.
I'll make the motion because I'm the only one physically here other than you.
Thank
How's
you.
that?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Do
I will second it.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Wardy?
Yes?
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Thank you. Next.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Cheryl. You may want to just say that you vote yes as well, just
Oh, I'm sorry.
so the record's clear
Yes,
on that.
from me. Thank you. Moving on, Mason Farms parking access. Mr. Waldinger will give us an update on this agenda item.
Thank you. On Friday, March 8th, John Mason Jr. reached out to me and asked if the authority would be willing to lease a portion of the pavement at the former sandbar for Mason Farms to use as overflow parking. I met Mr. Mason at the site yesterday and discussed his request. I have been in contact with our insurance carrier to see if any potential use would affect our rates and to ensure that any liability coverage that Mason Farms may extend to the authority is at the appropriate limits. I am continuing to discuss and explore the implications of this use on behalf of the authority. There is no action required on this item today, but I wanted to report on it and see if the board had any questions or wished to discuss the matter. If appropriate, there may need to be there may be a need to approve the agreements related to this use at the April 9th meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion on that at this point from the board? We want to wait and discuss it at an executive session.
That would be fine.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Moving on to Altair Consulting Group. With regard to work order number 1, developer engagement technical assistance.
Thank you. This is the first work order to come under the contract that the authority approved with Altair on September 12, 2023. This work order is for technical assistance related to developer engagement. It includes the creation of a marketing package to support engagement and discussion with prospective developers and/or tenants. Altair Consulting will ensure that the strategy created incorporates the vision set forth by Millcreek residents in the Gateway Plan, but which also takes into account the marketability of future developments. They will assist us in developing a formal, structured process by which to engage developers and will aid in creating specific criteria which can be used to rank proposals. The total fee for this work is $35,000, payable at $3,500 a month from March through December. As I've mentioned before, this type of direct developer engagement is outside of our staff's expertise and is one of Altair's core competencies. And again, although vitally important at this point in time, it is a type of work that is of a limited project-specific need, which is ideally suited to be performed through short-term consulting contracts. The current contract's entire not-to-exceed amount is included in the authority's professional services budget line item, which means this engagement is a budgeted expense for 2024. I recommend that the board approve this work order so that this work can begin without delay. And I just would like to address a couple comments that were made earlier. I have worked closely with Altair, with not only Chuck, but with Amy and Tom, their entire staff. I found them very competent. They have a lot of knowledge in this matter, things that the township does not have knowledge of, and have found their work product to be above reproach.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. So with this, I would like to make a motion that we approve the work order number 1 for the development engagement. Do I have a motion?
I want to second the motion, but I want a stipulation in the way that we get accounting from them. I want line level detail on what they're doing every month. This is a professional services contract, and the point I want to raise here is, if this were an attorney or an accountant, they would be giving us specific line items on what they're doing and what the costs are. And quite frankly, I just feel like it provides us with the transparency that we need. I completely agree with you. I've known Chuck Peters for 30 years. He does great work. He understands this space, but I think we need to be beyond reproach, and I think that's the way that we do it.
Thank you.
So a qualified yes. How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
That's great. So you're making.
I am seconding,
Okay.
yes.
All those in favor, Mr. Warden?
Aye.
Mr. Zimmer?
Yes, with the amendment.
Yes.
Mrs. Clear? Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Moving on to communications. We have a treasurer's report or communication.
There we go. There's not too much to report. As you saw with the approval of the bills, we did write 4 checks in the month of February, since the last meeting, since the middle of February. One for the banners, some project coordination on professional services, an electric bill, and the annual insurance. That's really all that happened in the last month. I will be providing a more comprehensive report in the end of March, at the end of the first quarter.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Mr. Waldinger for the Executive Director Communications Report.
Thank you. I do have 2 items to share with the board. The first, as listed on the agenda, is regarding the appraisal agreements for the St. Jude parcel. This is following up on discussions that were held with Father Ross Maselli and members of St. Jude Parish. So on February 26th, I signed the engagement letters with San Martino, Stout, and Lopresti to perform appraisals of 2 properties. The first property being appraised is the St. Jude parcel at the southeast corner of Peninsula Drive and West 6th Street, and the second includes select portions of the Bel Air parcel. During meetings with the parish, various scenarios were discussed, including the potential to swap some parcels. To make further decisions, the authority needs to know the values of the parcels in question. The fee for the Bel Air appraisal is $2,450, and the fee for the St. Jude appraisal is $2,950, for a total of $5,400. This work is within budget for the professional services line item of the 2024 budget, and so I gave my approval to proceed. Next, I'd like to do a quick update on demolition. I was informed by Empire Excavating and Demolition of their intent to begin their work on Monday, March 25th, so a week from this upcoming Monday. I have received almost all the required documents, and once all of them have been transmitted, I will issue a notice to proceed to Empire. And I know, at least for me, and I think for all of you, this has kind of been a long time coming. We've been working on this for a while. I personally think it's exciting to be here on the verge of actually seeing some real visible progress happening on the properties, and so I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have for my report, but if there are any questions of the board, I'd be happy to answer.
I did go down and look at the banners on all the properties, and they look really good, I thought, so.
Cool. Thank you. And the plan is once, as they're working from site to site, as they fence those sites in, then we'll move those banners to the fences,
Another
so they'll be
location.
visible, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Solicitors communication?
I don't have anything further at this time.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Shaw. Next on the agenda, citizens to be heard. Yeah, I don't know either. Folks,
Number 1.
folks on the remote phones, just make sure you mute. We're getting a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Mr. Wardy, thank you for your request for a line item billing. They're just too vague. Thank you. That's very much appreciated. I do have a question, Matt. You said you signed a letter on February 26th of engagement to hire San Martino to do the appraisals. Did you ever vote on that at a public meeting? Was that voted on at this meeting?
It was not, no.
How can you sign a letter of engagement, which is a contract, without that being voted on at a public meeting?
The board has, through Resolution 2023 R3, delegated the authority for me to enter into professional services contracts not to exceed $12,200, provided I abide by all rules, and the authority has funds for such purchases.
Well, that seems to me, and I'm not criticizing you, Matt, to be an end run around the sunshine law so that it never appears on the agenda until all of a sudden today. And that's the problem we've had with transparency before. That should have been voted on and been on a previous agenda at a public meeting. I have one more question. Mark Shahesky, the township treasurer, we don't know if he is or he isn't, he insisted on having an accounting of what hours township employees spend on authority business. Now that he's gone, who's keeping track of that? Is anybody?
I do have a spreadsheet. I do try to keep track. As long as people notify me that they've been doing work, then I try and include it on the sheet.
But when Mr. Shahesky was here, he insisted on it, right? So people didn't try, they actually did it, right?
I'm not sure if they reported it directly to him. I can tell you that Mr. Shahesky never asked me for my accounting, so I'm not sure how he kept that record.
Okay, just one final comment, and it ties into what Mr. Smith said. There was a developer in this town who's a major developer. He's developed all over the country. He got a consortium of the most experienced developers here, and he sent an email to Matt asking that they be given a chance to bid on the work that Altair was doing. No one answered them. Finally, days later, they got an answer, and it said, no, we don't need a developer. And that's not what that email said. You know darn well what that email said was, not that we want to develop the property, we want to guide the development, we want a shot at bidding on doing exactly what Altair is doing. And they were told no. You had 3 of the best professionals in the region, in the country, that offered to do this, and you told them no. Why would you do that? Why would you not give them an opportunity to bid on this, to put in an RFP for professional services, whatever, and just go on to Altair, who compared to them had absolutely no experience in this arena at all? You weren't here, Laith, so that's not you. So I guess, Cheryl, you're the one I'm asking that. Why? Did you realize he had received that email? Did he share it with you?
I don't recall that, but we have been very pleased with Altair's work and progress. I've worked with Chuck on a number of occasions in the past. I think Chuck is a professional, does a good job, and does do development. And yes, he does do property management as well, of course.
And I understand that, but in this arena, in this case, what you were looking for, which is a major expense and guides this whole project, he did not have any experience in that area, and these were the 3 most experienced developers. They had experience in guiding development, and they were sent away with just well, we don't want a developer. And again, that's not what their proposal said. That's not what their email said. So you missed out on getting their services. They had so much experience in this area combined, the 3 of them. And I just want to know, did you ever see this email?
I can't recall.
It was never shared with you then. And that is really, that's totally wrong.
No, the email was shared. And sorry, Ms. Mitchell, I just, probably don't recall, it was a while ago, but it was shared with all of the authority members at the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying yes or no. I just
Well,
don't
right,
recall.
you guys are the authority, and you never answered these people. These people made a significant approach to you. They had more experience than Altair, and they never even got a chance, which was super rude because they're the experienced people in this arena here. And so you turned down a chance to have people with major experience help you, instead selected a person with virtually no experience in this area. And to me, that doesn't make sense. And I'll bet you, knowing Mr. Wardy, and he's a very sharp professional, if he had seen that, I'll bet you would have entertained at least letting them make a proposal. That's my guess, knowing you.
Thank you for your comments.
Tom Smith. Just had I see they're starting the demolition on May or March 25th, Matt said. I'm just wondering why it has taken so long to start it when, you know, we've owned I guess Millcreek Township has owned the properties since February. And if they were, you know, they were saying they were such an eyesore and stuff like that, I'm trying to understand why it's taken almost a year to get them, I guess, started. And then also, how long is the process that it's expected to when, you know, what buildings are they demoing and when exactly are they expected to be completed? I didn't hear any of that when Matt was going over that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can speak to that. The contract was awarded in November, and they have a completion date of May 15th. You know, I think all of us probably would have preferred that they had started work sooner, but we don't direct that. We just have a completion date that they have to meet. So I know that they were tied up with other jobs, which they are wrapping up, and they will be down there now. They are demolishing four sites, the Joe Roots, the Sandbar, the Manor Motel, and then the small motel strip at the back of the Bel Air, not the main building. But, and I believe they may be starting on the Bel Air, but they haven't given me the full demolition schedule yet.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Any other public comments?
Dennis McAndrew. I've been to almost all these meetings, except one. And in the past, I commented that this seems like a lot of brandy and smoking and backroom deals, and I'm glad that we're having a little bit more parents. I appreciate that, the line item stuff. You said there's a completion date. Are there any penalties if they don't exceed it?
No, there's no liquidated damages to it, but you know, we do have a contract.
I mean, I know if I don't do my job, I get penalized.
They've
So
assured us they will be
They have
done.
better negotiators, or you? And I also asked way back in the beginning when this first, and I was told, and I asked, is anyone getting paid for this? And I was told no one sitting on the board is getting paid extra. Now, you as an employee are getting paid. It seems to me that Altair's is also getting paid, and I know somewhere along the line that there was they came up with a price, and it was told, no, that's too much. They came back with a different price. There is a cap at what they can get paid. Is that for just the year, or how many years?
So under the current contract, there is up to $100,000 not to exceed amount for work orders such as the one that was approved today. This is the first time that they've come to us for a work order, and that full amount is included in this year's budget if it were to come to that.
And it's already been a budgeted item.
Yes, it is in the budget, and again, it has to be for specific work items and work product.
And what he just asked in the thing is basically a list of what they
Itemized.
accomplish, it sounds
Yes.
like. Is that correct? Because I'm not in real estate stuff. So, thank you. Just writing my name. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Any other citizens to be heard? Okay. May I have a motion for an adjournment of the meeting?
You have one.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Zimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Meeting adjourned.